What's going on, y'all? I'm the Home Slice Ascend Hyperion. Video games. For a long time, they've allowed us to project idealized versions of ourselves into fantastic worlds and universes, free from the struggles and blights of reality. Character customization is one of the biggest parts to player experience, and when it comes to Halo, the story is no different. There have been plenty of debates over the years about the quality and style of different parts of Halo's customization. Some people will tell you that Halo Reach had the best options, and others will say Halo 4 had the most options. Most people won't say anything about Halo 5, and you'll probably find someone still trying to tell you Halo 3 EOD looks good. Well, today I want to discuss another, large topic in Halo. A two-sided debate whose roots run deep in even the most vanilla Halo player. A topic so thick, men have literally died in droves in pursuit of it. Okay, but jokes aside, it's no secret the shape of the female Spartan has been a long-time thirst trap for Halo fans. But the topic of female Spartans is actually a little more well-rounded than just at the cheeks. You see, representation of women in gaming has long been a topic of controversy and review. People are often left wondering if we should tone down our idealized versions of reality for the sake of self-preservation, or if we should retain them as they're just a facet of our idealized worlds. But today, I want to talk about how Halo, without even trying, managed to create a near perfect balance between reality and fantasy. That's right, I'm about to argue that the Halo series championed a design logic for women that should be seen more often. You see, I believe Halo successfully established a rhetoric of equity in design without neglecting the subtle realities of physical makeup, and it did it so well that most people didn't even really notice. It didn't happen overnight though. In fact, our story starts all the way back in 2007 with Halo 3. Before we get started, I want to invite you all to join my Discord. This video topic was actually recommended to me in my chat, so if you think I'm just hoarding fans in there to ignore them, you're wrong. Join using the link below. And it should go without saying that today's video is a little more light-hearted, and hopefully will still teach you something. Don't get too serious in the comments though. Without further ado, it's time to explore the evolution of female Spartans. Alright, truth seekers, here we are. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably already a fan of the design of female Spartans across all the relevant titles, or at least just one. But I want to get us on the same page to address our big issue. In gaming, there's a large debate about the over-sexualization of women, especially in games where men are often not represented in the same fashion. Now, we can all be adults here and admit that, yeah, often women in games are portrayed a certain way. And for the sake of argument, we'll operate under the assertion that this is problematic. But the counter to that argument is that ultimately, it doesn't matter. After all, these characters are idealized projections of ourselves, or often imaginary characters. You could argue that the same right that gives me the ability to make a lizard man also gives me the right to make golden peaks and rolling hills. In this argument, people often create an ultimatum where the other side must conform to the other or simply be dissatisfied otherwise. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the bread court, do you want dissatisfaction to be your only option 50% of the time? I sure don't. So today we're going to talk about how over the course of 8 years, Halo developed a formula for women's physique that not only complemented its own setting, but also unintentionally created a resolution to the argument we just discussed. This is done by addressing two key topics: proportion and protection. By proportion, I mean the raw bodily proportions of the characters. A good range for comparison would be like comparing Nora from Fallout 4 to the Sunflower from Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's as we edge closer to the right-hand side, we start to see some unrest on the web. Halo took an early lead on this issue in 2007 with the release of Halo 3. In that game, the body type was androgynous, meaning there was no physical difference between male and female characters. Functionally, this makes calibrating hitboxes real easy, but from a design perspective, there's no room for interpretation from any upset party. But this system would not last, and with the advent of Halo Reach, the approach turned the other cheek. Reach featured a new and expanded customization system which focused on giving the player as much control as possible on their version of Noble 6, the game's protagonist. That sentence is the key focal point for the all discussion to come: control on the protagonist. In Halo Reach, the multiplayer Spartan stopped being just a nameless bullet sponge for Slayer. The multiplayer Spartan became your Spartan. They became you, or your character. This created a heightened need for variation and depth in character creation, and in Reach, the women started to take on a more shapely figure, as I'm sure any kid who was 13 in 2010 noticed. But when we toss the Reach Spartan on our proportion scale, she lands in a fairly modest ranking. We can attribute this to Halo's conformity to a mostly unified hitbox, as well as its background in the androgynous design. The goal was not to overtly sexualize the female Spartans, no, but just to accentuate the physical features that are inherently feminine. It's also important to note that Spartans are the top of the human evolutionary chain, but not by modern means. The ways by which a Spartan is created aren't limited to the pre-workout and steroids that produce results you see in modern day, or like that character from Last of Us 2. But by defining the physical differences between male and female, Halo allowed players to be more in tune with their idealized character, all while retaining sensibility and forward motivation in design. The other big topic is protection. What I mean by this one is any armor or relevant clothing inside the game. This one is the major kicker. We can actually set our scale from, let's say Minecraft to Soul Calibur. It's a common trend to thirst trap with women's armor in games, as they have a trend of being more revealing, if not just entirely impractical when compared to the armor for men in the same title. Halo takes a very bold approach by trying something unconventional. They literally don't change the armor between the genders. For some games, this is a shocking concept, but in Halo, it's a narrative carryover from its lore and again from Halo 3. The Mjolnir armor is the peak of protective design. There's no need for alteration outside of properly fitting the armor to the user, which, mind you, is true for both genders. It's not like they make 100 suits of Spartan gear and say, now make sure you fit in this. The armor is made for the user and attuned to their body and biometrics. There is a great balance between proportion and protection for the female Spartan that actually can be applied to the male Spartans all the same. That's why I used the word equity earlier and not equality. Care is taken to adjust the scales as needed per scenario. So it's less about them getting the same amount of treatment, it's more about them getting treated to reach the same level. The physique of the two is notably different, but not in an outrageous manner, and when coupled with armor, the disparity is closed even further. I mentioned this earlier, but it's also really critical to remember that the Spartans aren't being sexualized here. All efforts made in changing the physique are just at translating gender or femininity in the Spartan. It's very pure in its intention, not meant inherently to be a thirst trap. It's just that, gamers. What do you want me to say? That's just the truth. So, while we often like to enjoy the women in Halo at a glance, I think we should also appreciate the design prominence they hold. Without trying, Halo found a good balance between accentuated physique and realistic delivery. And at a time where we're becoming more conscious of how we project expectations onto others, I think we can borrow some ideas from our kin 500 years in the future. That's going to be it for this video. Think about other ways that games translate the difference between masculine and feminine. Do you think Halo did a good job or could do better? Leave your comments and thoughts below, hit me up on my Discord, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.